Welcome back, my dark minions, to the Dark Void, ruled by me, not 51. And today we're gonna be watching. Basically, EA gets bought by the worst people of 55 billion. And this is the WTF news / reaction, where basically we watch, we react, and we talk about news, which I do during the video or at the end, depending. And today is a major one, a big major one, absolutely major one. And like I said, EA gets bought up by the worst people for 55 billion. I don't know who the worst people are, but EA has been bought out. Exactly. And yeah, I heard a little bit about this, and it could be, I did expect that. So the question is, we don't know what EA going to be doing from now on. All I know is possibly it's going to get worse. This possibly may be where the dominoes finally fall, and EA may finally start falling apart. I don't know. Either way, let's begin. We're going to be watching by Young Yeah. I will leave the link down below so you don't have to watch. So you can watch it by yourselves without my beautiful voice. So yeah, get ready. 3, 2, 1. Let's begin this interesting stuff.
Well, EA already had some of the worst management, but now some of the worst people have completely acquired Electronic Arts. Back in September 26, 2025, there were already reports that EA was close to essentially completing a deal to sell the company and go private.
I would think it would be for the best, but
it is publicly traded. Their shareholders and whatnot, who they have to appease to. By going private, they're no longer in the stock market and any of that stuff.
Okay, they're not there.
They are kind of an entity that kind of operates, as the title suggests, privately. But the people who have bought EA, the organizations who have acquired EA, are not ones that inspire confidence. That report was confirmed by EA today on September 29th, 2025, with EA announcing that they have sold the company for $55 billion. And this is something that EA confirmed on their official website and their investors relations portal page. It reads right here, EA announced an agreement to be acquired by PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners for $55 billion. PIF, for those who don't know, is a Saudi Arabian organization, and there's already plenty of dark implications there. Humanitarian issues, like human rights issues with Saudi Arabia, and the way that those elements can potentially influence EA.
They're not good over there.
Disconcerting.
As far as I know.
Silver Lake and then Affinity Partners is an organization run by Jared Kushner, who's also not a particularly savory figure and is all in this for the money. He's very much just a suit, and his leadership of any of these organizations will ultimately offer no benefit to the actual art of making games and want to exploit the art of game making.
I don't think EA is going to last another year.
But yeah, this is a deal where this consortium comprised of PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners will acquire 100% of EA, with PIF rolling over its existing 9.9% stake in the company. So PIF used to own only 10% of EA. Now with this acquisition, combined with Silver Lake and Affinity Partners, they'll own 100% of EA. And the difference between this and Activision Blizzard, which was acquired for $69 billion by Microsoft, is that Activision Blizzard still remains a publicly traded company. That will not be the case for Electronic Arts. This is a deal that is expected to be completed in Q1 of fiscal year 2027.
I'm just focusing on here. I'm just interested.
Somewhere between April 1st and June
engrossed
30th
right now
of 2026. Now, a key detail about this acquisition is the way they're going about it. The consortium, the combination of PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners who are buying out EA.
Oh, so I'm using my chair now. I've had enough of doing this on my knees.
$36 billion. So what about the rest, you may ask? Well, it is stated right here, $20 billion of debt financing fully and solely committed by JP Morgan Chase Bank. This is such a massive acquisition that the consortium,
JP Morgan,
conglomerates, couldn't ultimately cover all of the expenses. So now EA essentially is $20 billion in debt to JP Morgan Chase Bank. And then alongside all that, it was confirmed right here that Andrew Wilson will remain CEO. And while Andrew Wilson has certainly, on a financial level, guided EA as a corporation to heights that please the shareholders and investors, when it comes to the impact, the negative impact he's had on the art of making games, That's an area where people are not happy that he's remaining the leader. But of course, the whole point of this venture is
to get more money.
EA products better, isn't to make
more money.
Games better. It's to pursue, financial goals. It's to pursue corporate agendas. It's to make as much money as possible. And so we're going to see a lot of aspects of this company now.
Considering who's controlling them now.
I believe, to the employees and the way.
And they just announced Battlefield.
Journalist Jason Schreier here put it best.
But now
it's official. EA is going private. The leveraged buyout will be financed by a staggering $20 billion of debt, which likely means some aggressive cost-cutting is ahead of EA in the coming months and years, and that'll come in the form
of whether or not they survive that long.
Layoffs, shutting down certain studios. I fear for BioWare at this point because
BioWare is more likely going to be on the. It's probably on the headsman's axe.
The agenda of the likes of PIF, which stands for Public Investment Fund, for those who don't know. Silver Lake and Jared Kushner's affinity partners, whose affiliation with, the government, the fact that, Donald Trump is president and he's his son-in-law also creates potential conflicts of interest, so on and so forth. Like, none of this is ultimately good. But aside from EA is making a deal with multiple devils, including Saudi Arabia, well, that's been a huge focus of this whole fiasco. As Jason Schreier said here, a lot of people are understandably focused on the Saudi Arabia and Kushner part of this. The far bigger immediate impact will come from the new private EA being on the hook for $20 billion in debt. Now that they're a private company, they have to recoup that themselves.
They got to get $20 billion.
That could mean mass layoffs, more aggressive monetization, which will make games worse, as if FIFA or, EA Sports FC.
I don't think EA will have another year to live if they go aggressive.
Weren't monetized enough already. They might be significantly more aggressive on that front. And other big cost-cutting measures that will ultimately negatively impact much of the future of EA. That's the fear, and those fears, I think, are
This is going to be very...
And then tying into the cost-cutting measures is this article from the Financial Times, whose headline reads, Video Games Maker Electronic Arts strikes $55 billion deal to go private. While this article is paywalled, there are news outlets who have picked up on certain aspects of what this article learned that are important to know in this grand scheme of cost-cutting measures so they can pay off that $20 billion debt.
There's going to be a lot.
Morgan Chase. So right here we have Insider Gaming, whose headline reads, New EA owners hoping AI will cut costs.
That's going to make it worse.
Claimed by the Financial
That's going to make it worse.
It reads right here that
I don't think it will last next year.
Group is betting on AI being able to significantly cut CEA's operating.
I don't know if that is, but the way this is going to be,
as a way to boost its profits in the coming years and to manage a large debt load on a company that historically carried limited net debt. And then further identifying why all this is ultimately bad for EA, its franchises, and the developers and the artists and folks who actually want to make games for the art of making games and
for making good games.
Product, is the perception that, as the New York Times put right here, gaming companies have tried to adapt to changing player attitudes and appetites. Console games, those made for the PlayStation and Xbox, as well as desktop computer titles, have largely been in decline. This is a perspective and claim that is plain and simply false. Some of the biggest successes
I play different kind of games
have been from non-live services, from single-player experiences. I mean, if you look at some of the most successful titles on Steam, which highlight some of the most successful titles, period, looking at the
all-time peaks
here and putting them in that order.
It's probably because of what's happening currently.
Black Myth, Wukong, Power World is up there, Monster Hunter Wilds. You've got, Cyberpunk 2077 and Elden Ring, and
keeps going down.
Baldur's Gate 3 has the most played and
that's the video that's been financial. That's the thing that's been made.
Even indie titles like Hollow Knight, Silksong
have
garnered tremendous acclaim, and on top of that, incredibly well and done numbers that a lot of those AAA publishers who pursue live services in the name of profit would be jealous of. But the general belief is that the direction to go is live services and free-to-play, and this is something that EA has subscribed to for a very long time.
They've done a lot.
Claims that single-player games are dying when in fact they're thriving more than
they keep lying.
The New York Times states
EA has lied so much.
Free-to-play games like Fortnite, and many play from smartphones and other mobile devices.
Not really.
Not to say that there isn't a huge audience there.
I don't do that.
There aren't huge financial successes
like
on that front, but all that often involves gameplay systems that force you to spend money on, gambling elements, microtransactions, and gacha and loot boxes that kind of inspire recurrent spending in order for you to
but there's only so much money people have.
Because those games are purposely designed in such a way
But we
that
play
have
stupid
to
games
spend
because
a
they're
lot
fun.
of money
Not because
recurrently
we want
in order to be able to
waste money
get
on
the
it.
rewards that you want at a fun, consistent,
Oh, but explain
not
that correctly. If
insufferable
not,
pace.
I
And that's
apologize.
because it isn't very regulated. Companies just get away with the most extreme versions
Gambling.
of those elements.
Let's
And
go
that's what
gambling.
you know, many of these AAA game companies or publishers want to exploit. They want a piece of that pie because of the monetization potential, not because those paved the road to great.
And I fear EA is going to get more
This
aggressive.
continues. Others have embraced casual mobile games which do not take the same amount of time and money to develop as those made by major studios like Electronic Arts. So the perspective is they want more money for less effort, for less work, for less expenditure. And then it says
and more money is going to be spent.
The Saudi plan is to make some of Electronic Arts' most popular titles widely available and possibly free to play
there you
on
go.
platforms, which could include mobile devices and streaming television apps. And yeah, those analysts are probably right. Entities like Saudi Arabia come into play here and make such a major purchase of EA.
Some of these games
it is ultimately about
remember the end of EA
influence. It is
going to be end of EA Studios.
Money and power.
Bioware's going to die.
Getting in bed with Saudi Arabia is not something that is viewed in a positive light. Due to, as I mentioned previously, some of the major ways in which Saudi Arabia does not respect just basic human rights. So right here we have the Human Rights Watch website that talks about Saudi Arabia, and you can see right here just all the various reports that highlight that Saudi Arabia, the leaders and organizations,
they spread out over here. That's
the abuses that they've partaken in, the censorship that they've partaken in, and the way they've essentially just wiped out dissenters is pretty ruthless and just morally.
Now that's their territory.
Just morally.
But imagine that coming over here with EA, like not giving an F.
Has consolidated political and economic power, including as chairman of Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, the PIF, a sovereign wealth fund that has facilitated and benefited from rights abuses. PIF investments in high-profile sports and entertainment events, domestically and internationally, are used to whitewash the country's abysmal human rights record. Migrant workers, including on PIF-funded projects, face widespread abuses under the kafala sponsorship system. Saudi Arabian authorities harshly repress any dissent, including by handing down long sentences or the death penalty after unfair trials or charges related to peaceful online expression, and that's just scratching the surface.
Like I said, that's their territory.
Kushner and his organization being in league with the elite, and their goals not being aligned with delivering the best consumer experience with gaming, but just lining their pockets with more money. For these kinds of
I want money.
Money does not exist.
I just want money.
Money. You got a concoction here that just is basically the worst case scenario I could have imagined.
I just want money,
EA acquisition. One potential upside is that because EA doesn't have to appease to shareholders anymore due to the fact that they're going private, maybe they have more autonomy over the way they do things, but that autonomy ultimately comes down to who is at the head of EA. And sure, Andrew Wilson might be the CEO, but he's ultimately a puppet of investors who've acquired this corporation, this company.
How long will this
to them, and they can
process? Is this already went through, right?
Influence how
is there like a time limit to how long?
Essentially go in and their ideals can be infused in EA releases.
Like the heads start doing stuff?
Elites and the like.
What's the timeline here?
Jared Kushner's organization, Affinity Partners, and the like of Silver Lake. All of them will ultimately influence the direction of Electronic Arts and the kinds of products they release and the kind of content that those products contain. I just don't foresee this being a partnership that paves the road to, and I don't foresee this being a partnership that paves the road to the creatively empowering kind of situation.
They're just gonna make it.
And the thing about Saudi Arabia and the PIF in particular is that over the last few years, they've gone and either invested in or acquired tons of other video game related companies. You know, they have a stake in Capcom and Embracer Group and NCSoft and Nexon and Nintendo and SNK Corporation and Take-Two Interactive. And they've acquired the likes of Hero Esports and Niantic, Scopely and Steer Studios. And then now with EA, it is all jointly owned between the PIF and the organizations. That is a tremendous amount of influence and power to give one entity over corporations that represent a huge portion of an entire medium, the interactive medium that is video games. The kind of power that they'll have to,
and they're like one of the big wigs. EA is like a big wig. It's like a big sender.
Not allow, and how their goals are ultimately about self-service. How their goals are ultimately about, you know, delivering the messages that they want to send, and their involvement restricting certain kinds of content. And
I believe Battlefield's going to go down the drain.
Monetization and not maximum.
Many of the games are going to go down the drain.
Nobody wins here except the moneymakers. Stephen Totillo here spoke to various folks within EA who've expressed concerns as well.
There we go. Here it is.
About the EA deal and spoke to some current EA workers to get their takes. We have seen quotes such as, "I'm nervous. Layoffs usually follow those types of acquisitions." We certainly saw that with the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard.
Record sales, but
the Bungie acquisition from
record
Sony,
sales will still lay off.
That is very much a common trend, but with EA in particular being $20 billion in debt, the pressure to cut costs is significant. And
it's probably going to take like
pretty much
probably some years
of reports that EA wants to rely more on AI to be able to.
I just feel like next year's the end of EA. I'm just saying.
These companies are losing their soul, their creative soul more and more, and just the human element more and more. And then, there are people who are afraid that EA will be restricted in the kinds of representation that they can put in their games due to the fact that
whether you support or against these kind of things,
they're very strict.
That's your business, but oh my god,
censor. And they censor a lot of stuff. Again, Saudi Arabia rules with an iron fist. Dissenters get shut down.
And Battlefield is like
get assassinated. And you've got situations where like human rights are straight up just abused, and they just don't care about that stuff. They take
this is going to be insane
cost, and that's the kind of that EA has aligned itself with, EA and its board of directors. So yeah, EA was already under very awful management. EA does have talented folks, the developers who genuinely care about
this. Is like this is going to be very bad
by
not only for EA,
the chains that management put on them.
If this happens more and more,
some of the worst people imaginable, some of the worst organizations.
I hope it doesn't spread out of EA.
Company. Yeah, none of this paints a positive light for EA and its future. But I suppose only time will tell how all this will play out. But the general sentiment out there right now is this is a big old yikes. This EA ship, it's being steered by the worst people who could steer this.
Yep.
Even from a moral standpoint, the associations that EA is engaging in by letting itself be acquired by some of these awful
I don't know how they let that happen.
Awful people and organizations.
How EA let that happen.
It paints an extremely.
I would have rather have them be bought up by Activision.
For a company that already had some of the worst optics in the games industry, due to specifically the way management, leadership and the suits and the executives operate. This is the same company that said that the microtransactions infested Battlefront 2 was about giving people a sense of pride and accomplishment. They're the same folks who said that loot boxes aren't gambling, they're Kinder eggs, and they're fun, and there's nothing morally wrong with that.
But I can eat the candy.
Quite ethical is how they put it. So ethics is not something that EA has ever really been concerned with, and it especially shows.
It's going to get much worse.
The fact that they were let by the likes
this
of the
is
Saudi
insane.
Arabian PIF and Jared Kushner. And
sorry that wasn't saying my 2 cents during this video.
But
I just wanted to just watch it and basically see if I can react to this.
And opinions are on EA.
All right, then I'm gonna pause there. But I have to say this. This is absolutely bad. Here's my 2 cents on this thing. This is bad because, like I said, he just described three of the worst companies there. I mean, I think it's 3. And oh my god, it's just insane what this has happened. It's insane. I don't know what the timing is before everything is finalized. So let me know if they're already finalized it or they need some time. But I will say this, that next year, maybe the end of EA, it's going to be end of EA, because one thing is that if they're going to be if they're under the command of them, the more likely we're going to see more microtransactions. We're gonna see more stuff happening. I'm surprised that I don't know. Maybe something will happen with the government of the U.S. The U.S. where basically they may get involved in this and say, hey, hold up, what's going on here? What's happening? Will you just let another foreign power take this? I don't know. Maybe I have no idea what's going on. All I know is I'll just leave that to the side. Who knows? Maybe the U.S. government will get involved. But all I know is that I'm going to say this within 5 months, whenever this is finalized. Like I said, I don't know if it's completely finalized or not. But in 5 months, on the finalization, we're going to start to see a lot of cost cutting. We're going to see mass layoffs. They're going to say that we just implement AI. They're going to say that we're going to basically put microtransactions. They're going to be announcing microtransactions. Battlefield that just got announced and everyone's excited for, maybe now hesitant. They may lose money out of that. We're going to see some aggressive microtransactions there. There's multiplayer. There's probably gonna be some sort of form. What's worse is that they still own the rights to many games. Battlefront 2 is still under the command. So imagine that. Imagine them going back in time to any games that's still up and running. In fact, if you think about it, any games that are still up and running right now with servers under the command of EA, they may decide to go back to those and completely overhaul the systems on there to basically make it to where it's microtransaction filled. I'm just saying, if you think about it, that may be the way that they're probably going to get their $20 billion. They're going to need to find a way to get $20 billion to get off the debt. But seriously, think about that. Imagine the next day if you're playing an old old Battlefront game that is still operational under the command of EA. Imagine that getting retrofitted. Battlefield 2042 is still up and running, right? That one, think about that. They may try to put as much microtransactions in that game because that's all multiplayer. There's no story in that one. They may go back in time. Battlefront may try to do loot boxes again. They try to add some microtransactions in that one. Battlefield 2042 may be transformed to basically be microtransaction heck. And the next Battlefield game that's coming out, oh man, I don't know what they're gonna do, but if they're going to change that game, change that to be micro-filled, transaction-filled, whatever in that. Oh, man. And people were excited about that. After this, I don't think people are going to be thinking about getting that game anymore. I think people will decide, you know what? I'm going to hold it and wait and see. I'm not going to pre-order this. I'm going to wait and see what's going to happen to this game. I'm going to have second thoughts. I'm going to wait and see what's going to happen. People have literally made videos, and I watched the video of Vinegar saying that, oh man, this is what I like, this is what basically Battlefield is, I like this is what I liked about Battlefield, and I love that he literally was complimented so much. But with this, basically the praise may change to basically pure hatred because there's going to be microtransactions beyond belief. We may see skins, we may see guns, we may see other stuff. They may decide to put pay-to-win mechanics in Battlefield. All I'm saying is, if EA is basically already corrupt right now, oh my God, how much is going to get out of control when basically they basically let everything else happen. Just wait. Like I said, when everything's finalized within the first 5 months, we're going to be hearing more news about EA doing some shifts in there. Maybe. I'm saying maybe in 5 months, within the 5 months, I don't know. And then we're going to be seeing next year, 2066, basically is going to be the year of possibly the finale of EA. Maybe not. Maybe the brainwashed masses of EA fans may still support EA regardless because they're completely brainwashed. But hopefully some of them will break free and say leave because they're going to see how much freaking microtransactions is gonna happen. Literally. I don't know what happened. I don't know what's gonna happen. But EA is now gonna be looked at carefully by the player base to see, wait, what's gonna see? What are you planning to do? So yeah, I don't know. And whatever new games gonna happen, we're probably gonna be seeing, like what he said, we're gonna be seeing probably more free-to-play games. We're gonna see more. Don't they own Candy Rush? Don't they own Candy Rush? Somebody tell me no. Do they own Candy Rush? Because if they do, that game is going to be filled up even more. This is going to go badly. And this may be the beginning where EA finally will get to the point of being shut down. They may basically get to the point where they get sold off, their assets get sold off, and we'll basically see EA completely gone. And in fact, they may have to sell. Actually, now that I think about it, they may have to sell, in order to get out of debt, they may actually start trying to make people make games out of their other IPs that they haven't used in years to try to get more money. The only thing they can do is probably sell the rights to other companies. If they do this, they're going to need to sell rights. At this point, there's rights they haven't used for years. So there's either two options. They either sell those rights to the things they haven't done for years, like they haven't done anything with those IPs. and sell those rights off, or they go back into those rights IPs and make like dear god awful microtransaction filled hex of games, free to play games, just to make the money back. We'll have to see. Those IPs are on the lifeline now. They could be sold off, or they could be used as money makers. We don't know. It's going to be hectic. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't know what will happen in the future, but we're going to have to wait and see to see when all this finalized within the first 5 months of this and see what happens. We're going to be paying attention on this. And in 2026, will it be the end of EA? Is it going to be the end? Who knows? But I do know we're going to be seeing a lot of microtransactions coming out the woodwork. And a lot of changes to video games. Who knows? Either way, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Comment, subscribe down below if you enjoyed today's video somehow. Because this is a very bad thing. And I hope it remains in EA's section and it doesn't spread out. Because the last thing I want is other companies starting to get influenced by EA. Remember, they're a big company. EA is a big company. And if they do anything that influences, and they do anything that's profitable, other companies might take suit. Who knows? And I hope they don't. Either way, comment, subscribe down below if what you think about the situation. What do you think what's going to happen? Do you think EA is basically on the hook right now, and basically we're going to see so much everything getting microtransaction filled? Do you think they have a chance? Maybe they still have a chance to make good games, which... Do you think Battlefield is going to change to be microtransactions? Do you think they'll go back to make the other games that are still online microtransactions? Do you think the IPs will be sold off? Or do you think they'll be used to make more microtransactions? Let me know. I mean, Command & Conquer still has the app right now, so that one's probably going to be filled up. So who knows? Like I said, and do you prefer that EA would have been bought up by anyone else besides these people? I mean, EA at least, Activision at least, I don't want them to have EA, but at least they would have done something. At least when they get backlash, they actually fix the game. But either way, we'll see. And also, like and share the video to spread this around, just so if more people can can basically know this. And don't forget to press the black bell button to be notified whenever videos pop up, because one, YouTube doesn't basically doesn't even announce it, and son doesn't forget to upload it, or younger sibling. You know the shebang. Also, make sure you check on your restricted mode profile to see if restricted mode is on, because that removes my videos from your feed. Alright? Got it. Okay, that's about it. And for right now, we'll see what the future holds for us. For EA. Right now, my dog means dismissed.